So this is a plant after being in the sphagnum moss for like a month.
How's the learning process for you for tissue? You started from zero. Is it
from
fun?
zero.
What is it?
It's very fun. I think for those people who were interested in plant, it's very fascinating to see how they grow in the flask, how they give the multiple shoots at the same time. How do we manipulate the plant to have roots, to have shooting, we cut and it grows on the side, but blah blah blah. It's very fascinating to see.
Hi guys, my name is Sean. I'm a houseplant enthusiast from Jakarta, Indonesia. I'm in Bangkok now at Variegated Zone, and this is Up, one of the founders, and they create really wonderful variegated alocasias here, mostly by tissue culture. So we'll learn a lot about the process and we'll see some really cool plants in this episode. So Up, tell me, how did you get started with all this?
Basically, we start with like learning the tissue culture first about the process, and then I start with jewel orchids. Yeah, I start with jewel orchids first time, and then we'll have some begonia too. Then we change to alocasia because I'm very interested in alocasia because it's very hard to care sometimes. But when we know how to care it, like we know what they need, we know what is right for them, it will be very easy for them to grow. So that's why I'm become interested with alocasia, and then we start collecting like the new species, new variety of alocasias, and we do the tissue culture to multiply them.
How many years ago did you start and you're collecting, and how did it transform into a business?
I started with the terrarium plants before, like 7-8 years ago with the terrarium, like the begonia, magovia, labicia, those kind of plants.
Difficult plants.
Yeah, difficult plants. Then I shift my interest into the alocasia. I know a professor teaching in a university about plants. We met because I bought some of the plants from her, from the tissue culture plant, like begonia, Daviderina, and some several orchids. And then we kind of like join together to build like a new lab, and we'll shift the focus to the alocasia, monstera, and philodendron, but mainly it still be alocasia. For like the lab has been started for like almost 5-something years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you became very fast from a collector, and then suddenly the obsession really hit you hard until you turned into a business.
Yeah, I would say that.
Well, and you're lucky to have found the right partner too.
Yes, she's very nice. At first, she teach me how to do all the process, so I can do it myself. Basically, she will do with the serialization of the plant in the first place. Like we'll have to like serialize the plant from outside. Let's say we cut the top and serialize and put them in a flask. She will focus on that part.
Okay.
After that, when the plant is clean, then it will be thrown to me.
Okay.
And after me, it will be thrown to like the other employees.
Yeah.
That's like a.
How's the learning process for you for tissue? You started from zero. Is it
from
fun?
zero.
What is it?
It's very fun. I think for those people who were interested in plant, it's very fascinating to see how they grow in the flask, how they give the multiple shoots at the same time. How do we manipulate the plant to have roots, to have shooting. We cut and it grows on the side, but blah blah blah. It's very fascinating to see.
So what are you growing now mostly in your nursery here?
Mostly here will be alocasia.
Okay.
Now we have like 120 active alocasia in flask. Some of them are out to the market, some of them are not. So yeah, and we also have 40 species of philodendron that is active right now, and maybe 20 species of monstera.
Okay. How do you select the species that you want to multiply based on prediction of trend, based on what you like?
Both, I would say both. Sometimes I like that plant very much, but when we have a lot of them, we cannot sell. So the market changes like very drastically. We cannot sell that. But some of the plant I don't really like, but the market likes. So it depends on preferences of the people too. But usually I would select the plant that had like a symmetrical leaf.
Okay.
I like the contour not that much. Myself, I prefer like the leaf that is in a good shape and a good variegation. Some of like the stability of the plant too, and some of the rare species. I love rare species plant.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think most people do. There's a bit of a joy in hunting for them, and
Yes.
now we're seeing a lot of variegated alocasias come into the market. Literally in like the last 1 to 2 years. Where are they coming from?
Some of them come from the forest, but some of them like is variegated in forest.
Okay.
For some species, we did the tissue culture from the green plant, and some of the variegation came out
Really?
later, yes. Because when we do a tissue culture plant, we put the hormones.
Yeah.
So basically, it's called cytokinin. It helps with the shooting of the plant, help with the cell to like multiply. And then when you multiply fast, it's like a virus, it's like coronavirus. It has a very slightly chance for the cell and for tissue of the plant to mutate.
Yeah. Basically, it's making a mistake when you're cloning.
Yeah, we call it clonal variation. It happens sometimes naturally, and sometimes we have like a chemical or like a radiation to help with that to be faster.
I see. Natural mutation versus radiation. How many % does it occur for, let's say for Alocasias?
For the
50-50?
no.
Mostly?
No. Let's say for the radiation first. For radiation, if a different plant, different species, different genus, it have the tolerance with the concentration of the radiation in different way. For Alocasias, usually we did the 3 samples, 3 concentration of the radiation, right?
Yeah.
And we try to find that which concentration that half of the population in the flask died.
Yeah.
It's called LD50.
Yes.
And that we try to multiply from that flask. So that is the optimal concentration that give us best chance of mutation of the plant. But sometimes the mutation would be bad, like a bad mutation, like the shape of the leaf become like deformed. Some of the variegation doesn't stay when growing up. We have to select once again after we have the variegation in flask after the radiation.
Okay.
Yeah, for the natural mutation, it's very hard. It's very hard. Sometimes we did the green plant for like 3 years, no variegation came out.
Okay.
Yeah, but sometimes some species we did for like 3 months, not more than 1,000 plants, the variegation come out.
Interesting.
So it depends.
Now with Alocasias, but also with actually philodendrons, there are actually different types of variegation too. There's like yellow,
Yes.
there's white, and sometimes they make the plant more pink, and the variegation is sometimes more sectoral, some of them are more splash.
Okay.
Is that correct?
It's correct. Sometimes we did the tissue culture of the, for example, like the variegated Alocasia. Sometimes the aurea come out.
Really?
Yeah. Some of the plants, that case happens many times in the lab. Usually the mutation will happen from the green one.
Quick question, is the tissue culture more stable for the variegation than the corms?
I would say it depends. For some species, when you do tissue culture, it came out green a lot. But for some species, very stable. For example, the species that have like a marble or the variegation is scattered throughout the leaf, that will be very stable. But for some species, for example, as if the caramel marble, we'll have to select like the good variegation and good pattern in flask and multiply by that plant. Some plant that's like one leaf variegated, the other leaf is green, we'll have to take it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it's not promising that we have like a big quantity of the variegated plant out of the tissue culture plant.
Yeah, that's why they're so expensive and they're a lot harder to produce.
For some species, I would say that it's less than 1% of the plant that is variegated.
Okay.
We don't talk about the variegated that is beautiful, just the variegated.
Yeah.
Just a tiny bit of variegation we count less than 1%.
Okay.
It depends.
Sure.
For the corms, you gotta look at the mother plant too. Some mother plants, like the variegation is like very stable. Every leaf has variegation on 2 sides of the leaf.
Yeah.
That is when the corm will be very stable with the variegation.
So it all depends on the mother.
Yes.
Sometimes.
Yeah, that's very hard to say if the tissue culture is more stable or the corm is more stable.
You know, you come here and you sometimes discover some variegation here. Are you still discovering new variegation?
Yes.
So sometimes you buy plants already variegated.
Yes.
And you try to selectively breed them to make them even more variegated with your propagation. But you also discover new ones.
Yes. This is Philodendron longilobottom lelanomiano. I believe it's from Indonesia. 4 years ago, I did the green plant, and then we didn't find the variegated plant in flask. We find it outside.
Okay.
So for like the 1,000 plants being planted in my nursery, I found one variegated plant, and I keep cutting to get this. From the first time I found the plant, I found like the whole plant only have 1 leaf variegated.
Really?
From like 10 something leaf, it only has 1 leaf variegated. I keep cutting to get the more the stable variegation after and becomes like this one. This is the mother plant. We have the small one for sale too. Usually this one is very different from the Longilobottom that's available in the market. This one will have a brighter color. Usually the one that is available in the market, the new leaf will come out green first, and then after time, when it's exposed to the light, it will become brighter and brighter and brighter. But the top three leaf will be almost green. But this one, the color is like, if you see the newest leaf here,
Which one?
the newest leaf is here. This is the newest leaf.
Wow.
The color already came very clear and bright. Several mutation of the plant. Sometimes it's like in good quality, sometimes it's in a bad quality. So you gotta choose and pick what you wanna do about it.
Okay, fascinating. So there's a lot of stigma around tissue cultured plants. Some people say they're weaker. Some people say they're prone to illness. What is your take as a?
I would say that people were scared of tissue culture plant because back then they start to sell the tissue culture plant that's not ready yet. They sell in like a flask and sell in like a plastic bag with the like very small size.
Okay.
So when people bought, they died. They don't know how to care and they don't know how to acclimatize.
Okay.
They died. Sometimes they die because not in the right way you to care of them. They died, right? But in here, we're trying to propagate them first and wait until they have like very well established root. After that we sell. Most of my customers won't complain about the plant dying because it's already stable, the plant.
Okay.
The root stable, it's already grow up for like a tiny bit more from the size from the flask.
While visiting Indonesia, Up gifted me a few plants about 9 months ago. Here's what they look like today. Around 90% of them survived, and they are not in the best shape now because these guys actually flowered about 3 months ago, and I have not had the time to repot them.
So I would say that for Alocasia, actually for every species, every genus that is come from the tissue culture, they grow the same way as a normal plant outside, as the same as the cutting. In here, if you can see that some of the Cramomable, all of this here come from tissue culture plant, but I do cutting too. So it grow the same thing. It will be slow at first because when we took it out from the flask, there are not many roots, right? We will have to like give them some time for the root to grow first, and after that, at some point they will grow the same rate as a plant from the culm or as a plant from the cutting.
Yeah.
They grow the same rate, and they can have flowers, can have culms normal as. Actually, I would say that for some point at the time that the plant grows a bit more from the tissue culture plant, you cannot even tell.
Okay.
If the plant is Alocasia from cutting, the shoot cutting, or the top cut, or Alocasia from the tissue culture, you cannot even differentiate them.
Yeah.
Except if from the culm, it's because the culm sticks until the plant grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I must say that not all labs are built the same. There are many formulations. Each lab has different experience, different formulas. I do know where some of the stigma might come from. I've met people who said, I bought a huge batch of Aglaonema from a certain country, from a tissue culture lab, but most of them didn't survive. So this person went around and told everyone, tissue culture plants are lousy. But I've also heard many good news. So for you out there, I guess one way to find out is to try for yourself, but find a reputable lab too.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing for us planter too, because some of the new plant came from tissue culture. I think almost most of them, that is like a new variety of the plant. We don't talk about the hybrid, we talk about like the mutation of the plant, like the Cramomable in different color, the Alocasia that we only have like the abo in the market, and suddenly the aurea come out. Usually it came from the tissue culture plant. So I think basically it like offer us more chances to access to those new variety too.
Yeah, it's make it more accessible, but also we're finding new mutation in tissue culture. So it's a win-win situation.
Yes.
And we're gonna tour his lab and we're gonna see how the plants are created and how they are acclimatized into this kind of the process. All right, can you walk us through some of your process?
Okay, so first we're gonna select the mother plant. So if you plan to do one species of Alocasia, first of all, if there is only one plant, I can find only one plant, I will wait until I have the culms. I'll do the top cutting first, and I'll wait for the lateral bud to grow, and then I'll cut the lateral bud to do the tissue culture. But if there's like there's a species that already in the market, several people have them already, I will directly do the top cut. And if it dies, I'm gonna buy a new one.
Okay.
It depends on that.
Wait,
Then-
so what part of the plant do you take the sample for the tissue?
Okay, you can do from three things: the top cutting, lateral bud shooting, and the culms, right? The culm is very easy to do tissue culture because it's clean, and the culm shelf is thick, so you can sterilize it quite easier than the tissue of the plant itself, right? But you never know that it's gonna be variegated or not.
Okay.
So the success rate is higher.
Okay.
But also you have to see later if it will become variegated or not. But sometimes it's green. You feel like, oh, it's successful, but it's green. You fail too, right?
Yeah.
I myself prefer to do with the top cut because I know that top cut of the plant is variegated for sure.
Okay.
But also it comes with the higher risk of being contaminated too sometimes because you cannot sterilize that strong enough sometimes.
Yeah.
That's how I choose the mother plant. And I'll choose the mother plant that have like very scattered variegation throughout the leaf, both sides, left and right.
Okay.
So be more stable for the plant in flask. Before we didn't recognize that. We chose like the sectoral variegation, and when it gets into the flask, it's either gonna come full moon, full green, or the sectoral again. So it's not giving us anything new. So we gotta choose a mother plant very carefully. This is the first top cut, and we did the sterilization of the plant. This is the first step you get like a one single plant inside the flask, right? And you have to do cutting. It's the same way as cutting outside. You cut on the internal part, and you get a top cut and the bottom part here, and put into flask and put in a hormone, and it will cut it. And then the shooting will come. They'll have like a shooting here and there, and then you cut again, and then you get to multiply them in a flask.
So this is where the multiplication starts from here.
And when you put the hormones, for example, that's only one lateral bud, the side bud, and that bud, when the shooting come out, you have the growth point again on the shooting, right? If you put the hormone very high, all the shooting will grow at the same time. Yeah, it will become like this. If you zoom in, you can see like the tiny, like the, I don't know if the camera captures or not.
So the shoot will also have more bud, and then that will multiply.
Yeah. So it's like
Got it.
multiply. Every shoot is gonna grow at the same time. The growth point of the new shoot will grow too as the old one grows.
Yeah,
they
you're
grow at
really
the same
forcing the
time.
babies to have babies.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
And just a quick side note, I mean, this is for ornamental plants, but we've been doing tissue culture for crops and food for a long time.
Yes.
You know.
Yes. It works at the same time.
Yeah.
It's just different the formula of the nutrient and different ratio of the hormones that we put in there.
Yeah.
For example, the rice. I'm gonna put in here in Monster. I put like a 3 BA, which is like a 3 ppm of BA hormone. Just 3 ppm. The plant grows a lot here.
Yeah.
But for Alocasia, we only put 1 ppm, which is part per million. But for rice, the rice we eat,
Different.
it's gonna be like 60.
Oh, wow.
It depends.
Yeah. But
And for some species that doesn't have the shooting point, for example, coconut or palm tree, that one is a bit harder. We have to do it by like it's called embryogenesis. We have to make it become like a packed tissue, and then we try to manipulate them to grow as a plant later. And then we try to make sure that it's clean enough, and we put in a sterile flask with the medium, the agar gel medium, and we wait until it grows first. For example, for me, if I did it by the culm, I'll wait until the plant grows first before multiplying, because you don't want to multiply between plants. But if I did by the top cut, I'll right away multiply them with a hormone, because I know it's going to be variegated for sure. Yeah. After that, it's going to go through the process of the multiplication. We'll add the hormone to manipulate the plant to give multiple shoots at the same time.
Yeah.
And then after that, when we have enough quantity, we plan to bring it out to the market. Or for me, for Alocasia, I'll cut it right away from the flask and plant outside. But I'll plant in the sphagnum moss first, and we'll see later on the.
So acclimatize it first.
Yeah.
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 So you grow them in this agar jelly, and then you add. What do you add?
Hormones. Actually, there are two groups of hormones: the rooting hormones and the shooting hormones.
Okay.
It depends on what stage you are in right now.
Yeah.
If you want to multiply them, you put in a very high of the shooting hormone, and then after that, if you want them to have roots, we can either put in a rooting hormone or we can either put them in a free hormone nutrient. It depends on the genus of the plant too. Some plants don't need the rooting hormone, some plants need.
Okay, so it's trial and error for you, or
Some species that is very famous, you can find in like a paper too, like a research. If you see how they grow, this is because we put up a lot of shooting hormone. Yeah, and they will grow like crazy here. You can see at the.
There's a lot of plants.
Yes, there's a lot of plants, but doesn't mean that all of them will be variegated. We have to select one by one. For example, this one is philodendron. So philodendron is very harder for them to get root in the shooting hormones. So later we'll have to put the round shape culture here into the free hormone nutrient so that the plant grows, stop giving shoots, and it grows and grows, and the root comes, and then we'll take it out. If you can see, there's some of it of the root here.
Yeah, I see the
the root coming out now. This one has been moved to the free hormone nutrients already. As you can see the root coming, and then when the plant grows big enough, we'll cut it out to nurse outside.
So what are these ladies doing here now?
They are cutting the plant for multiplication.
So they're already as kind of established now.
Yes. So this is, for example.
Yeah, they're separating the. How long does it take to reach something like this?
Actually, when we put the plant in the cup like this, right? We try to put 6 or 7 or 8 pieces of the plant. For the plant to become that size, last cut was 16 August. So we have the number.
So
we have a genus number, the species number, the date, month, and formula, and the owner who did this one.
Okay.
So we can track back. Some things go wrong.
So right now, it was growing as a clump like this. Right now, she's separating.
They'll be cut into different many pieces, and will be put into the new flask. And from that, it will multiply again.
Oh wow!
So it's gonna multiply a lot, but it isn't always gonna be variegated. So we have a lot of green plant getting cut out and thrown away to the bin too. So
I see.
For example, this plant is cut out to be acclimatized later, and we'll have to wash the roots because the roots is attached with the nutrient from the gel, and if you cover it with no airflow, the fungus and bacteria will grow so fast. So we have to clean this first, and so we'll make sure that it is very clean, the root, and then we'll plant, and then we'll wait for the roots to establish, and then we'll sell after.
How long do you think it takes to acclimatize it?
In the moss, we wait for a month. Later, we'll see that after a month, the root will be a lot. We'll have a lot of roots, and then we'll move into the substrate mix after.
Okay. I think that's one of the mistakes that a lot of you guys do, including myself, is that I bought one of the flasks before and I immediately just move it into
die.
And they die. So let's see what the next step is.
Okay. So here's nursing room for Alocasia. For me, what I find best here is I put the Alocasia from the flask after I wash the roots, right? I put in the sphagnum moss first for the root to establish, and then when it's very ready, we'll take it outside and move it to the substrate mix pot.
Okay.
And I'll show you for the plant that has been nursed for a month. Let me find first. All right. So this is the plant after being in the sphagnum moss for a month. So you can see that the roots will
Cute.
become like this.
Yeah. Now, after flask to here, the survival rate is actually very high, correct?
Very high, you can see.
Because you grow them in such good conditions. And
You can see it's probably the only 2, 3, 4 died out of like. Yeah, so you can see the roots coming out a lot. So this will be ready to be moved to the substrate mix.
and then live outside.
When we firstly transfer it to the soil mix, we'll cover with the plastic first. Drill a hole for the air to come in and dry sometimes, and sometimes being water, so they become slowly adjusted to the weather outside.
So the key really is to just slowly
Yes.
let it
Yes.
acclimatize. Okay. So what we have here in this bin, this is all one variety,
Yes.
but the process to get here is actually, you have to get rid of a lot of the green forms to get to here. How many percent roughly do you know to get something?
But this one is very stable.
This part, also they're all different.
This one almost like 90% will be variegated. But depends on like it's gonna be beautiful or not. But some will be like almost green but still variegated. So as we have many of this, so we throw all the almost green one away.
Okay.
And only nurse the beautiful one. But we have to cut a lot out too. I mean, like the variegation is very simple. Simple means most of the plant is variegated, but not all of them is beautiful.
I see.
Yeah. For the variegation like this, it will be very hard for stability to be high. Usually, we select the variegated version from the flask to nurse it here, but not more than 10% will be sold to the customers because the pattern is not good, suddenly turn green, suddenly turn full moon, so we keep it here until we throw it.
Yeah.
So we'll pick some of the beautiful one to sell.
So it really is because of the species sometimes.
It's because that's a type of variegation too. Yeah, it's a species too. It's a mix of both.
So not all Alocasias are the same, and since they are new to the market, the variegated, you really have to take your time to figure out which ones are.
But actually, I think the rate of the beautiful plant is getting more as we select the mother plant in flask. We'll try to make it better over time.
Yeah. So the variegation you're also discovering is getting better and
Yes.
with time.
Thank you so much, Up, for the precious knowledge shared in this one. I guess class is dismissed today since there's way too much information to digest in this one. We will resume next week for part 2, where we tour the exciting mother plants and talk a little bit more about variegation and mutation. Up will also be sharing precious alocasia care tips so you won't have to struggle with yours. As usual, I would appreciate a comment down below to let me know your thoughts about tissue culture technology, or if you have a good or bad story with tissue culture plants, please feel free to share it. Smash that like button and check to make sure that you are subscribed. If you happen to be doing extremely well in this economy, here's your chance to contribute financially to the channel for as small as a cup of coffee a month. You can find me on Patreon at patreon.com/SeanFromOnlyPlants, as well as YouTube member. Simply open any of my videos from any computer browser, and next to my channel name there will be a join button. See you next week and take care.